was released in 1969 and goes by the name Blood for Dracula's Castle. Now I know what you're thinking, and surprisingly enough, Christopher Lee does not appear in this film. However, we get a bizarre cast of characters, laughable death scenes, and a title that completely misrepresents the film. So, without further ado, let's jump into Blood for Dracula's Castle. So right off the bat, what is going on with this theme song? That's really the feeling you want to go with right from the get-go? When you think of Dracula music, what do you think of? This? Or this? Or even this? Instead, we've got this groovy little tune to introduce us to a film with blood in the title. So the film finally starts with a creeper photographer and his swimsuit model fiancée snapping photos at a poor man's SeaWorld.
Mr. Glenjanin? Yes, that's right. Telegram came up to the office for you.
Oh, thank you. Remarkable woman, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Hard to believe she's really my mother. These preservation techniques today are really something, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Oh, thank God I'm not the only one who finds you provocative. Proves I'm not a sex fiend.
Hey, this is my mom. How is that a charming line in any way? You're wrong, lady. This guy clearly is a sex fiend and will most likely eat or wear your skin some point in this film. Anyway, Peter Predator gets a telegram that informs him that his uncle died and he's inherited a castle. The catch is that it's on the other side of the world and there's already a family living there. After about 3 seconds of discussion, they decide to boot them out and live there instead. And soon we meet the family living there, which consists of a poor man's Gomez Addams, his wife, played by what looks like Elvira's great-grandmother, their older than the sands of time butler, and a creature named Mango. Gomez and Nana Elvira are shown drinking blood harvested by their butler, making them the laziest vampires ever. They also continually mention someone named Johnny. And before you know it, we're introduced to their buddy Johnny, who quote-unquote breaks out of prison and proceeds to have an incredibly long and boring hike back to the castle. Once there, it becomes the subject of every conversation he has that he is a crazy person, yet we get no proof of it. It's like in Tim Burton's Batman. The entire first act discusses how crazy Jack Napier is, yet we never get any proof. It's just hearsay. So, Glenn the creeper photographer and soon-to-be wife arrived at the castle, discussed the castle with the Count and Countess, and decided even though they've lived there for 60 years, they're getting the boot. That idea lasts about 10 seconds before the Count says to hell with it, and they chain Glenn and his wife in the dungeon with the blood source girls. Why they didn't just do that from the start, I have no idea. Soon, Glenn and wife watch in horror as one of the blood gals is given up as a sacrifice to some weird pagan god, and they're told that soon-to-be wifey will suffer the same fate. But creeper couple is clever and finds a way to escape and ties up the Count and Countess. After that, Glenn decides to really punch up the hero points and go attempt to save all the blood girls in the dungeon. However, when he goes to try and get in there, the butler's waiting and attacks! Attempts to attack! Feebly rubs a mace on him! Serious? There's absolutely no dignity in that death. Absolute zero dignity. So soon, Mango discovers the butler's body and... Alright, I gotta talk about this for a second. Why is his character named Mango? It is impossible to take him seriously as a threat when he's named after a delicious fruit. There is no conceivable reason why you would name your terrifying monster henchman something so ridiculous like that. Why would you do it? I honestly want to know.
I believe if you're going to have a henchman, you should give him a humiliating, silly name so that he will kill anyone who hears it. That's the idea. For example, Mr. Bond. I see you've met my 8-foot-tall psychopath, Poopy Pants. Destroy him, Poopy! Poopy, kill him! Use your powers of poop! And he would, wouldn't you?
You're lucky Sean Cullen's here to make me hate you less movie. So the Countess and Count turn to dust and bats because they can't get a hold of any blood. Don't ask me to explain it. And as Glenn and Wifey make a run for it, Mango makes slow, awkward chase. Somehow he catches Wifey, tries to set her on fire. Glenn kind of sort of comes to the rescue. They end up killing poor Mango and leave his charred corpse lying on a bed of rocks. I've seen my fair share of Dracula movies, so I consider myself somewhat knowledgeable on the character. So believe me when I tell you that Blood for Dracula's Castle is a joke to the name Dracula. In fact, there isn't anybody named Dracula in this goddamn thing. The Count is named Charles Thompson. Any story or point that this thing was trying to make is completely lost in its absolute ridiculousness. You cannot expect me to take these kind of death scenes seriously. You can't! I honestly expected there to be Three Stooges sound effects at the end of this one. And when I see Mango's death, all I can think of is, I'm a dummy! Like, there's nothing... They're so silly. They make me laugh out loud. Your horror movies should not do that. Here's the bottom line on what this movie's problem is. It wants to be an exploitation film, but doesn't want to commit to the rules of sleaze. This film was made in 1969, right at the cusp of the 70s exploitation craze, yet it falls short of that goal by a large margin. The makers of the film wanted the exploitation audience without actually pushing boundaries. There's no nudity, there's no blood, nothing that hasn't been seen before. And look, I'm not being Mr. Movie Creep by suggesting that there should be those things in this film. Those are attributes that help define exploitation as a genre. It's what Sleaze Moses brought down from the mountaintop for B-movie directors to learn from. However you want to express it, Blood of Dracula's Castle doesn't have it. For Horrible Horrors, thank you, Evan Zach Romero.